Before each commencement ceremony at Troy University's Troy campus, graduating students and their families are invited to join in a breakfast at the Chancellor's residence. In this episode of Tastes and Traditions of Troy University, Troy Board of Trustees member Karen Carter joins Troy University First Lady Janice Hawkins to learn about some of the traditional favorites served at the commencement breakfast.
This is going to be fun today. We have some food to prepare today for our graduation breakfast that we do traditionally, as you know, at this home. And I just wanted to chat with you for a moment and talk about your role at Troy University as Board of Trustee member. Well, there's a long list of your roles at Troy University. First of all, graduate.
Yes.
Board of Trustee member. Chairman of the Foundation Board at Troy University, and biggest fan.
And a big Trojan fan.
Big Trojan fan. Big Trojan fan. I always think about that ad that we have where that crazy woman, that normal woman turns crazy during football season. It's all
That's
of us.
not me.
Well, it is me. It is me. So anyway, we're so glad to have you here today, and this is fun. It's always fun visiting with you.
Thank you, Janice. I'm so pleased to be here, and I'm excited about learning about the recipes. And as you mentioned, graduation is just a fun time for the students, and I always enjoy being here for the breakfast when the students get to meet you, get to meet the Chancellor, our speaker, and having been at many of the graduation breakfasts, it's been a highlight of the year when I come and do that. But one of the highlights is also the things that we have for the students and their families to eat, and that's the exciting part about being here today.
And having said that, we left something out. You were the graduation speaker at our last graduation, and we really appreciated that. You did a fabulous job, and in addition to attending the breakfast, you got to stand on the porch and take pictures with all the graduates and
That's
families.
Right.
I admire you and Dr. Hawkins for doing that because it takes a long time.
It was a great day,
But
getting
yes.
to meet the families and then to meet the students because they were excited. It's always an exciting day for them. So thank you. I enjoyed it.
It means a lot to me to be able to do this because I worry when someone says that they graduated from here, and hopefully it's before our time here, and that they were never in this home. So that was one of the purposes for beginning this breakfast, so that we'd have the opportunity to have every graduate and every family member, should they desire to come. And everyone gets an invitation. We hope that that they all come. Certainly a large number come because, as you know, we have to put the tent up outside to serve the food. And but the house is open and people enjoy coming in and eating inside and touring the home. And I think it just makes them feel a real part of the university, and it makes us happy to do it. So,
well, we appreciate it because it is a tradition that I know everyone looks forward to, and we look forward to being a part of it too every graduation. So we thank you for doing that.
Well, as you know, we're doing a new cookbook. You've got recipes in there, and we're thankful for that, appreciate that. And this cookbook, unlike the first two, relate to the 125 years of history that we have, because we're having obviously our 125th birthday this year. And so we've put a cookbook together with I think over 800 recipes. We were really fortunate to get that many. And one of the recipes is one that we use regularly for our graduation breakfast because it's backed by popular demand kind of recipe. And it's my recipe. It's called Yankee Pleaser Casserole. I have to say that the cookbook committee asked me to rename it, but we didn't get to that point yet. I think most people know me, I'm a Yankee, so maybe we'll just keep that Yankee Pleaser Casserole.
It's your casserole.
But anyway, it's a great dish to serve. It's tradition in our family to serve at Christmas morning, and it is because for me, you can make it 24 hours ahead, put it in the refrigerator, take it out and pop it in the oven Christmas morning. So that's a real easy thing to do, and I make it for that reason, but the family loves it. So we're going to do that today and show our friends and hopefully entice them to get the cookbook.
That's great.
So,
I've been looking forward to finding out about this recipe. I know
Well,
it's in the cookbook and they can see it, but I want to see how you prepare this. So looking forward to it.
Well, we'll just use the recipe as a little prompt here. So first of all, we have our ingredients: sausage, cheddar cheese, eggs, milk, and the ingredient that isn't in most breakfast casseroles, grits. And you know, I don't know why it's called Yankee Pleaser with grits in the casserole, but it is. The other ingredient is Jiffy corn muffin mix. So we'll assemble this and show you how to make it.
Okay, great.
So first of all, we have our cooked sausage, and it calls for a pound of sausage, and I'm already ready to do the wrong thing by putting it in the bowl. Sorry about that. We have a 9x13 Pyrex dish, and I have sprayed the bottom of this dish with some butter flavored cooking spray. You could use, you know, just soft butter or anything, but the idea is just to keep the sausage, especially if you use a low fat sausage, from sticking. I always do a little more than a pound. You know, you wouldn't be a cook if you didn't go a little bit outside the recipe. And I like to mix regular or mild sausage and hot sausage. So that's what I've done today. Now, obviously, you're safer just doing mild sausage than you would be doing a mixture. So we have just enough to spread on the bottom of that. When I watch cooking shows, it bothers me so much that they leave a grain of something in it.
I think you've gotten it.
So I have my spatula to get every little grain of sausage out. So the next step is to sprinkle a cup of, now I use cheddar cheese. Cheddar cheese is what's called for, but obviously you could use any flavor cheese that you like. So we sprinkle a cup of cheese. Now this is not in the light section of the cookbook, so the only way to make it dietetic is just not to eat too much. So we're going to sprinkle the cheese evenly over the sausage. And then we're going to set that aside. And we're going to do our egg mixture. So we're going to use 4 eggs. Put these in a bowl so that you can fluff them up a little bit. So that's why I don't break them. Somewhere along the line I was taught to break eggs into a separate bowl, because I guess if you have a bad egg, you haven't ruined the entire recipe.
Or if you drop shells in there, you can get them out easily.
Thank you.
Which I do sometimes.
Which I do all the time. So we're going to...
Perfect.
And then we're going to whisk those eggs. Did I get any shells in there?
I didn't see any. I think yours were perfect. That's why I was glad you were cracking the eggs.
Thank you. So we're going to put the eggs in a larger bowl. Now in the cookbook, I have added to the recipe that the original recipe that I got from a friend of mine years ago calls for an entire box of Jiffy cornmeal mix, which is 8.5 ounces. I find that it makes it a little stiff, so I have estimated that I use about 6 to 6.5 ounces, but this is how I estimate. I just pour it in
from the box
and know that there's a little bit left in the box. Keep in mind, if you use the whole box, it'll be just fine. So, done that. I'm going to mix that up. I love using a whisk. Maybe that's, I don't know where that came from, but I just find that it's great for mixing things.
And you remind everybody in the recipe, don't use the whole box.
Right. All right, so next we have, again, the recipe calls for a cup and a half of cooked grits. Now, the thing about grits is when you make them, if they rest even for a few minutes, they get a lot thicker. So I always try to make my grits a little runnier. Today we've let them stay a little bit too long, so they're a little thicker than I normally like. But we're going to use 1.5 cups of grits, and so I would say when you prepare them, use the package directions, and I just use quick cooking grits, little bit of salt, and water.
So you use the 5-minute or quick cooking, not the long,
not the
30-minute grits.
I didn't know you could buy 30-minute grits.
You can.
I'm going to quick cooking.
So quick cooking, okay.
Quick cooking, and then you're going to mix that with your egg and your Jiffy. It's going to be a little stiff. And then we're going to add a little bit of melted butter. And I am one of those people that uses real butter. And I believe in a certain brand of butter. I like to use Land O'Lakes unsalted butter. I think it controls the salt that you add. It allows you to add the salt to the recipe to make it like you want. But also, because when you use it for cooking, it doesn't splatter. It's the only one that I know of that does that. So I'm going to add the butter. And then we have 1.5 cups of milk. You can use low fat, regular, whatever you have in the refrigerator. I would not use cream in this recipe because I think it just might put you over the top. So I'm going to use that. And then if you'll check for me, the last ingredient there, make sure we haven't forgotten anything, is 1/2 cup of cheese. So we have 1 cup of shredded cheese over the sausage, but then we're going to add 1/2 cup to the recipe. Make sure that's all mixed together and not lumpy. The only thing that would lump here would be the grits, you know, and the Jiffy. You have to be sure you don't have someone bite into a lump of that. It's really easy, but it is so good. So what we're going to do next is bring our dish back. Excuse me. And then we'll pour the egg mixture over the cheese, the sausage. Now some people top, or people that make this have told me that they top the egg mixture with the 1/2 cup of cheese. I just go ahead and put it in, but sometimes I top it. Either way, you'll get that nice, if you like the nice bubbly browned effect, I would top it with the cheese and not put it in there. Like I said, every last drop. There we are.
Oh.
So we're going to put this in a 325 oven for 45 minutes. And I always start checking about 40 minutes just to make sure, you know, like any egg dish, if you kind of take a hot pad and shake it a little bit and the center is still a little movable but not little mobile but not runny.
So you're just checking it and make sure you could take it out at 40 minutes if it looks like it's
45 minutes, it will definitely be done, but on 325 usually I'll start about 40 minutes, and if I think it's done and nicely browned.
Great.
So if you'll open that oven for me, we'll put this in. Set the timer and enjoy.
Oh, great. I can't wait.
Yeah. So next we'll talk about what we serve with it and another recipe that's in our previous cookbook, which I know you're familiar with those first two cookbooks,
Yes.
and we'll talk about that.
Good.
The third cookbook from Troy University, celebrating 125 years of taste and traditions of Troy University, is now available for ordering. This handsome volume is packed with recipes reflecting important themes in the life of the university, and also features reflections on the 125-year history of Troy. Taste and Traditions includes recipes for holidays, entertaining, tailgating, and tried and true family favorites, along with memorable recipes, global cuisine, recipes from the university's early years, and much, much more. No kitchen is complete without celebrating 125 years of taste and traditions of Troy University. Order your copy today. Email events@troy.edu or call 1-334-670-3608. Cookbooks are $25 plus $5 shipping and handling and are also available from Troy student organizations.
This is smelling really good. I hope it is. I'm a little nervous about it, but it's time for it to come out. The timer's gone off, so we get to do the fun part now.
I've been looking forward to this moment.
I have as well. I'm a little hungry. So we'll take this out. Thank you.
Oh, it looks perfect. Looks beautiful.
Normally, I would say let this rest for maybe 10 minutes to 15 minutes. What is another wonderful thing about it is it's good at room temperature. So it's good piping hot, or like I said, Christmas morning, if everybody isn't quite ready, you can, you know, just let it rest there, and it's great however you serve it. But this morning, we're going to go ahead and cut it. And because it has the Jiffy cornmeal mix in it, it's set enough and has enough substance to cut, so it comes out kind of in squares. And we'll just have to sample. Okay. If you'll just be the plate holder, and I'll get us a piece of this. Okay. This looks delicious.
It does.
And there we are. How about we'll set this back over here. And taste.
Okay.
Bon appetit.
Thank you.
Delicious.
Oh, it is. Yes, Janice, you made, this was a superb recipe.
Well, it'll be in the cookbook, so you can do it.
I think I can.
You can. Governor Riley's wife, Patsy Riley, called me one Christmas when she was doing a family cookbook and asked me for breakfast dishes. So she put this in her little family cookbook and told me after that it had become a real family tradition for them to serve at Christmas. But let's talk about one of our favorite subjects, Troy University. We talked about all of the things that you're involved with Troy, and the fact that you're on the Board of Trustees. It's a huge job. I don't think people realize how much our Board of Trustees are involved. We support every aspect of the university. You all attend graduation, special events, athletic events. A lot of time is spent at the university when you're a board member. And in addition, you're on the foundation board, which of course is responsible for fundraising and making possible so many of the things that we enjoy. And you're a graduate. Your daughter is a graduate. Your husband is a graduate. Tell me, from your perspective, you spend so much time here, and you know we spend time with the things we love, and we do the things we love usually if we're very blessed. Tell me something that you love about Troy University. What drives you to want to be so much a part of this great university?
Oh, Janice, I don't know where to begin because there's
I
so many
can imagine.
things, but you're right, and I'm very, very blessed to be a part of the memberships and the affiliations that you mentioned, especially with the Board of Trustees and the Board of Trustee members, the Foundation Board and directors, and so I've learned so much from all of the other associates that I have the privilege to work with, and I think what brings me back to Troy, and it is a love of Troy, and I loved it when I was a student here, and as a graduate, I took from Troy so much, not just the learning, the education, academics, but also Troy prepared me to be competitive as I went out into the business world, and so I owe so much to Troy University, and I want to give back, and that's a part of why I come back here, to be able to see other students have that same opportunity and to better prepare them for what I know they'll face when they go out into the business world or work environment or their family environment. And Troy University does all of that. It prepares you as a student, but it's also everything that the activities, the events, the feeling of family here allows the students to know what it's like to do anything they want to do. And so as I come back, I get a chance to be a part of that and to give back to, to Troy, the community, and just, the service that's here, the servant leadership that I see at the university from Dr. Hawkins' leadership, what you all do with everybody in the community, the campus, the students and families, but also those that work with the university. And so for me, it's fulfilling to be able to give back, but also to learn from the others that I get an opportunity to be around in the different meetings and events and activities. And as I think about those things, I always enjoy what I do with the football games, the basketball games, the different things that we do. But
they are fun.
Yeah, they're a lot of fun. And there's so
especially
many,
winning. And
yeah, that's right. Winning is a lot of fun, and we do celebrate those wins.
We do.
One of the things that we do, though, I think as the Board of Trustees meet and gather here for the graduation breakfast, I'm always reminded that, as we talked earlier, this is such a fun event. I'm just curious as to, I know it's been a tradition and it's one that you've established here. Is there a story behind that, or how did this come about? Because I'd love to hear about it.
Oh, well, I'd love to tell you about it. It's kind of a funny story. We had been here not quite a year, and we had a graduation speaker, a gentleman who has become a good friend of ours, Dr. Aubrey Lucas. He was president at Southern Miss for 26 years. Actually, after he retired, they brought him back as interim president, so he may have the longest term as president of a university. Not sure about that, but anyway, he's a wonderful man. And he told me, he and his wife came, and I talked to him about some things. I was wanting a lot of ideas. We were so new, and I really wanted to do the right thing, but you don't always come in knowing the right thing to do. And he told me about a tradition that they started at Southern Miss where they had the graduates and their families come before graduation. Now the difference is they had one graduation a year, and they have a later graduation, so I think they probably did it as an afternoon tea or something like that. But he made the point that it gave him an opportunity to meet the families, meet the graduates, and just made them feel good. And I said, that is a great idea. Well, as you know, we have an early graduation, and we at the time had 4 graduations a year, not 1. So we started a graduation breakfast. And we did it the first year, and everyone that came fit in the house. It only took about maybe 2 years for us to totally outgrow the house, so we improvised and we put a large tent every graduation except winter, which is in December. We're now down to 3 graduations, but we still have that December graduation. And so we put the tent up, we serve the food under the tent with fans in the summer and, coffee, and we have something cold to drink every graduation. And as we said earlier, my husband stands on the porch with the graduation speaker, as you know. Each graduate goes through, has the opportunity to meet and speak with the graduation speaker and Dr. Hawkins, and then they have their picture made. I think, take a picture of the graduate and then of the graduate and their family. So there's a lot of picture taking that day. But we have had not only great feedback from the graduates and their families, but it has been a blessing for us and those of, like when you come as a board member or as a speaker. One graduation, I remember coming in the kitchen, and of course you're just wall-to-wall people when everybody's in the house. But at this kitchen table, there were 4 graduates that had just met and were talking. Now, as you know, and most people know, this is our home campus. Troy is our traditional campus with athletics and dormitories, but we have campuses all over the world, and people are finishing their Troy degrees without ever coming to Alabama. But many of our graduates that graduate in other parts of the world really want to see this main campus and relate a campus to their degree. And that morning, 4 graduates from all over the world, different parts of the world, just happened to meet and were sitting at the kitchen table talking about their experiences. They had come back for that particular graduation was a spring graduation. And they had come back to experience walking on the main campus where they were getting their degree. And that, I mean, just knowing that and being able to talk to them was such a wonderful experience for me. So I enjoy it. But I was thinking when you were talking about our saying here that we say so often and hope we live by, and that is that there's a culture of caring on this campus and at this university for our students and for people that are a part of it. And we really, you know, it's popular to say the family, but this university really lives it, and you really feel that way as part of a family. And I just think that that's highly unusual and very remarkable. And it's people like you who feel the way you do about Troy University that make it that way. So I hope the graduation breakfast makes it part of it as well.
Thank you. Well, it certainly does. And as you know, the family aspect of that is important for all of us who love our families. And this is just a part of the bigger family in the Troy family.
And we send our children here.
That's right. And we all enjoy that. And I know one thing at the graduation breakfast, and I'm glad you let me know how that started, because, you know, since it is such a time-honored tradition now, we go and we look for different things, and casserole we just tasted was great. But there's always, we have a muffin there that I've always wanted to know about.
We have other things,
so
and so
there's something I'd like to know about too.
Well, today we're serving, along with the Yankee Pleaser casserole, sweet potato muffins. Now, I want to tell you that this sweet potato muffin, while the Yankee Pleaser casserole is in the new cookbook, which is, 125 years of taste and traditions. This is the second edition of the cookbook. We've done three. The Taste and Traditions of Troy. This was Troy State, so now we're just Troy. This is sweet potato muffin recipe, and we're going to serve this. And I tell in here that this came from Christiana Campbell's restaurant in Williamsburg, Virginia. Jack and I went there after we had been married just a few months, and he had a meeting there, and we went to this restaurant, and they were kind enough to give me the recipes. So I've given them credit and put it in the cookbook, and we serve it regularly. Today we're going to be making these, and I also wanted to tell you, you know about this first edition.
That's right.
But this is such a wonderful cookbook, and I use it probably more than any other cookbook that I have. We have almost 500 pages in here, filled with recipes from sororities, fraternities, students, families, alumni. So
makes it great to have all those contributions from everybody from
So today we're going to be doing the sweet potato muffin recipe. And the good thing about this, we're going to serve it just with a little marmalade and butter for this breakfast. But you can make these, and they store beautifully, they freeze beautifully. You can make them small, you can make them large in a regular size muffin tin and put some ham, or some people like country ham, or just plain ham served like that. So they're great for a buffet or a party. But let's make them today and
let's do it.
Talk about how we do it. You might have to help me read that recipe and tell me
so the first thing we do
where we're going to start.
Butter. Cream the butter, sugar, and sweet potatoes.
All right. So once again, I use real butter, and this calls for 1 stick of butter.
1 stick of butter.
And it doesn't say melt; it says cream.
Right,
so
temperature.
That's right. So that's going to mash up a little bit, and then we have how much sugar?
1 1/4 cups of sugar.
Okay. I have done this with brown sugar, but in the recipe it calls for just the regular granulated sugar. Of course, now you can buy that wonderful organic sugar, that light brown sugar.
Have you tried this recipe?
I haven't tried it in this recipe. I keep it at home for those of us that drink sugar in our coffee, but Haven't tried that yet. So we're going to cream this, and
then the sweet potatoes, and it's 1 1/4 cups of canned or fresh sweet potatoes mashed.
okay, I want to tell you something I learned about sweet potatoes. Now, you know we have another board member that's a dear friend to all of us, Mr. Roy Drinkard.
Yes.
And I want you to know that Mr. Roy has so many recipes in this new cookbook, he probably gets the prize for the most recipes. And here's how he did it. He called all his friends and told them to send a recipe of Roy's favorite. So most
All
of his friends are
favorites.
female. And they sent all his favorites. So he literally has dozens of recipes in the new cookbook.
Can't wait.
But Mr. Roy gives us sweet potatoes is it late summer when they come in, or
In the
fall?
He brings them in the
Fresh
fall.
from a farm in Coleman. And
they're so good.
what I have learned from that is that when you use sweet potatoes in a recipe, which we do a lot at Thanksgiving and Christmas, if you bake a sweet potato, a fresh sweet potato, and then take it out and mash it, the flavor is enhanced as opposed to boiling or even using canned. Now, of course, canned is much simpler to use, but I'm going to use the wooden spoon for this because it's a little stiff. So we're going to mix the sweet potatoes and the sugar in the butter. This is done by hand and could be done in a mixer, but today we'll just do it by hand. Now, if your butter was not soft at room temperature, you might want to do it with a handheld mixer to be sure you get that all mixed together. Thank you. Okay, so next,
After we've creamed the butter, sugar, and sweet potatoes, we add eggs. And there are 2 eggs.
okay, 2 eggs. So just like we did for the Yankee Pleaser casserole, we'll break these in a separate bowl. And these are at room temperature. I think this recipe says do everything at room temperature. Excuse me. Okay, and then we'll get a whisk and then we add that.
Add the eggs. And just blend.
Okay.
Okay. Next, the recipe calls for sifting flour, baking powder, and spices and adding alternately with milk to the batter. So, flour,
Now I
baking
know it
powder, and
says
spices.
add
So
alternately.
what do you do?
I've never added alternately in my
just
life, so
put them in.
and there are some people that say that's very important, but this is pre-sifted flour and it's all-purpose flour, not self-rising or anything, because we're going to add
1 1/2 cups of all-purpose flour. So you got that.
and then we have our baking powder and our
2 teaspoons of baking powder.
have that right here. So we'll add that.
1 teaspoon of cinnamon.
Okay. How about we just dump it all in? What do you think? This is what I would do at home.
Nutmeg, a 1/4
Okay.
teaspoon.
Now, I do love to grate fresh nutmeg. Do you do that?
No.
No? Well, I love to grate fresh nutmeg because, you know, after spices get a little bit old, they lose that zip, and fresh nutmeg you can keep longer, and you just do it over, just take one of the little nuts out and grate it over the recipe, and it just really makes a difference. This is salt, and we've used sea salt here, which I
1/4
use.
teaspoon.
I hope nobody ever tells me that it doesn't make a difference, because I think
you
that
use
sea
it.
salt is so much better for us, but not sure why. So we're going to need a strong arm for this.
You do.
And then it said add the milk alternately, but we're
Yes,
just going to
we're
put
adding
a
milk.
cup of milk.
1 cup of milk.
Again, you could use regular milk or low fat. Now the recipe calls for raisins.
The next is nuts. It says fold in nuts and raisins last.
Okay, so these nuts can be pecans, they can be walnuts. I love to use walnuts. I learned a while back how good walnuts are for us. Haven't ever used almonds or any other nut, but you could definitely use walnuts or pecans. Today we have pecans. And we have the regular raisins, but I frequently use golden raisins in this. I find golden raisins to be more moist and, I don't know, maybe milder in flavor. I think we've got that. Do you? I think we're mixed
Yeah,
enough.
I think that's
so
good.
We'll
Now the nuts.
put
and
the
it's
nuts in. Now you
half
can
a
also
cup.
leave the nuts out for people that don't like
okay.
nuts, which I would never do. But, and then how many raisins? How much?
Calls for half a cup of chopped raisins
Okay, and a half a cup of nuts.
and a fourth of a cup of nuts.
Okay, so we're all mixed. And then what we're going to do is put this in muffin tin. Now remember I said we could do this in the little mini muffin tin. This is a regular size muffin. You could use muffin paper cups you could put in here. I have simply sprayed the butter spray on the muffin tin. If you don't like to use that, you could use anything. Crisco, butter, softened butter, anything. Just the idea is to grease the muffin tin. And we're going to spoon a little bit. I'm going to use my spatula for that. And then we're going to bake this
For 25 minutes at 400 degrees.
at 400 degrees. But again, we're going to watch that because some ovens are different. You're going to spoon about enough for half to 3/4. You need a little room for expansion because we have eggs and all those good rising agents in it.
I like the fact that you can reheat these. So it says they can be. You said you could freeze them and reheat
Put them in a freezer
so if you don't
bag.
use them all. Yeah.
My kids call me the freezer queen. The problem is I forget what's in my freezer.
You
And
just
so,
get many things.
yes,
in there, right?
I make spaghetti and sauce and I make more than I need, and so I'll put it in the freezer, but then I forget. So the moral to that story is don't have a big freezer.
Because it can get lost in there.
This can be wiped up, even though I'm spilling. So 400 degrees for, I'd check it at 20 minutes. But it says 25. I keep an oven thermometer in my oven.
Oh, you do.
I do, because even brand new ovens that are supposed to be calibrated to be, the exact temperature that it says, you'll find when you use an oven thermometer that it's usually a little bit off. So,
Okay. Ready
I'm
for
going
the
to take
oven?
this, put this in. Thank you.
Oh, those are going to be very good.
So 20 minutes later, we'll check that.
Okay, great. I'm looking forward to tasting those.
The third cookbook from Troy University, celebrating 125 years of taste and traditions of Troy University, is now available for ordering. This handsome volume is packed with recipes reflecting important themes in the life of the university, and also features reflections on the 125-year history of Troy. Taste and Traditions includes recipes for holidays, entertaining, tailgating, and tried and true family favorites, along with memorable recipes, global cuisine, recipes from the university's early years, and much, much more. No kitchen is complete without celebrating 125 years of taste and traditions of Troy University. Order your copy today. Email events@troy.edu or call 1-334-670-3608. Cookbooks are $25 plus $5 shipping and handling, and are also available from Troy student organizations.
Janice, I want to thank you for inviting me today to learn about some of the traditions and some of the recipes that are in the cookbook, but I certainly want to thank you for making the graduation breakfast a tradition as we've talked about. I know that we appreciate it, and the students certainly do, and their families. So thanks so much, and I'm happy to be a part of this.
You're so welcome. We enjoy doing it. It's a blessing to us, and I just love having you as a friend and as a board member and being able to do this. We have our finished product. We've already sampled the egg casserole, but this would be a sample of what we serve for a traditional graduation breakfast. We have our mini muffins, sweet potato muffins, and we'll have to taste those. And then we always serve a fresh fruit. So we have our yogurt parfait with fresh fruit in it for this particular breakfast, and then we always serve a citrus punch and coffee. So
It's a beautiful.
people leave satisfied, I think. Yeah. I thank you again for joining us, and I look forward to being with you all again and for you to try some of our recipes and our 125 years of taste and traditions at Troy University.